Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3 Secrets to Creating Wealth on Any Income webinar with your host, let's try that again. Can you tell I'm a little nervous, people? Hi, and welcome to the 3 Secrets to Creating Wealth on Any Income webinar with Rennie Gabriel. I'm your somewhat nervous host, Carrie Roldan, and I'll be introducing Rennie in just a few minutes. But before we get started, I wanted to welcome you all. And make sure that you welcome you all to make sure that you get the very most out of this webinar presentation. So there's a couple of things on your screen that I want you to pay attention to. And depending on what it looks like when you popped in, there's a few tabs on the top. There's one that says chat, and there's another one that says pop-ins, and those are the two that you're probably going to want to pay attention to. So for now, let's open up that chat box and just say hello. Say hello, where you're from, and why you've joined this webinar. Okay. Also, to make sure that you are focused and present during the next 50 to 60 minutes or so, please clear your area of all distractions. The information we're going to get today is super valuable and life-changing, and it deserves our complete attention. And that's Rennie you hear in the background getting himself ready to come on. So close anything else that you might have open in your browser and get ready to take notes and, of course, interact in the chat area. All right, so who am I? Well, I host a weekly Hangout on Air show, and I decided to come help Rennie with his show because I met him, or his webinar, because I met him a few months ago and was immediately impressed by the man that he was. And while he has a long list of credentials that I'll go into in a minute, the thing that was evident about Rennie Gabriel from the very beginning is that he truly walks his talk. He is not just a guy teaching financial concepts or money mindset. He's a living, breathing example of everything you guys are about to learn on this webinar today. Rennie has helped thousands of individuals create a life where work is a choice instead of a requirement or an obligation. And it started with himself. Rennie has come from near bankruptcy to a wealthy life on his terms. He truly is financially free, and the work he now does in the world is based on his passion to help others do what he has done, to free ourselves from dependence on a job or a paycheck, to stop working for money and start getting our money working for us. In his 40-year career, Rennie has been a serial entrepreneur. He's been a chartered life underwriter, a certified financial planner. He's owned a pension and administration company. He's been a UCLA instructor for 20 years. Sorry, USC fans. My husband's a big USC fan, so every time I say that one, Rennie, I think, oh boy. And he's a business coach to financial professionals. Rennie has received countless unsolicited testimonial letters demonstrating his clients' financial results. Examples range from Dave eliminating, get this, $160,000 of debt in 5 years with no increase in income, and Bruce increasing his net worth by $600,000 in 6 months. Anyone else out there want to achieve these kind of results? Go ahead and let us know, actually. Simply type a huge yes in the chat section. So I'm excited to get started, and I'm sure you guys are too. And in the next 50 or 60 minutes, Rennie's going to share what we're all here for, the 3 secrets to creating wealth on any income. So be ready to take notes. And for each person on this webinar, he's also going to share an opportunity to work with him further. So be sure you stay till the end because you're not going to want to miss hearing about that. On that note, Rennie, I'm so excited to introduce you. Welcome to your very own 3 Secrets to Creating Wealth on Any Income webinar. I got you on the screen.
Thank you, Carrie. And I want to thank you for hosting this to help me try not to be as nervous as I really am and things of that nature. And also, I want to thank everyone who's opted into the call, who's joined the webinar. I've got people who were authors with the book publishing company I used to own. I've got some family people on here. I've got people who've taken courses that I taught 17 years ago. And so, I want to do the best job I can for everybody. And, so thank you. And, also everybody on the call could be doing something else with this time. They could be watching daytime TV, maybe reruns of Gilligan's Island. Oh, and talking about Gilligan's Island, how did Thurston Howell make his millions? Well, I'm going to talk about that on the call today. So we're going to go through the 3 secrets that the wealthy use, and that it really makes a transformation in how we handle money.
Well,
Let me make a promise first, too. I promise that from wherever you are at this moment in time, you will be able to see a path to creating work as a choice instead of a requirement. And the problem with my promise is I learned a long time ago we have not been taught how to handle money effectively. The school system doesn't teach us, and our parents haven't taught us. Well, I mean, I'm not blaming parents. They can't teach what they don't know. But it's like we're expected to know this, except the material isn't provided to us. So that's what that's what I'm going to change.
Rennie, I'm so excited to hear you say that because I think, one of those people whose parents didn't know how to teach them about money. And I know, not that they didn't want to, but like you said, they didn't know what they didn't know. And as I'm now in adulthood, I'm recognizing, oh gosh, if I don't want my financial situation to be exactly like my parents is now, I really ought to learn to do things differently. So I'm excited for you to hop into the material. But before you do, I want to give some shout outs because this is kind of exciting. So, by the way, this is what we do on Hangouts. We give shout outs. So Charles is here, Robert is here, Andrew, Anchin, I hope I'm saying your name right, from South Africa, Cindy, hello, Doug from Michigan, Elaine from Oklahoma, and Mathis says, let's hear it for Roz. He said, let's hear it for Rosewood Elementary. So,
Yeah.
Rennie.
There we go. I've got people on this call that I went to elementary school with.
So that is awesome. And before we hop into the material, Rennie, though, I do, just for those that you didn't go to elementary school with, or maybe that you've lost touch with since elementary school, I touched a little bit on your story when I was introducing you, how you went from near bankruptcy to now. I don't think I mentioned a very comfortable passive income of $25,000 and growing per month. But I just asking you to maybe share a little bit about your story, where you came from, how you got here.
Well, I mean, obviously that wasn't the case, and no one starts out that way. And there were quite a few bumps in the road. In my first marriage, I had an attitude, and we're going to talk about attitudes on the call, but the attitude was, it doesn't matter how much money I earn, I won't have anything, because I was married at the time to someone who could outspend anything I could earn. And it was very frustrating. It wasn't the kind of partner you want to have when you're married, which is not the case now. I have an amazing wife that, I mean, I really lucked out. This is my 3rd marriage, my last marriage. There will be no more. But I have a true partner in what we're doing. And I would say that's an important part of how this was created. But one of the things that created a shift for me in my first marriage was needing $1,200, and I can't tell you what it was for. I really don't remember. All I remember is we went to a finance company to borrow the money, and they provided the $1,200. They had us sign all the forms. Our credit was okay, but we had nothing. We had no cash, which is why we went to a finance company, and what they required was that we collateralize all of our furniture. if we didn't pay them back, they would come and take away our couch and our TV. It was so disgusting to me that after that, I promised I would never be in that situation again, whether I was married to my first wife or not. And that started me on an educational process that got me to where I am today. So that some of the experiences.
Wow. I can tell you that there are probably people who are right now watching going, oh my gosh, yeah, if I needed $1,200 at this minute, I don't know where it would come from, you know? And I think that's so important, and that's why we're here, having this call today. So, Rennie, I've heard you in the past and in us preparing for this call, and I actually sent an email to some of the people that I invited to this webinar today saying, all right, this guy is saying that debt freedom and financial freedom are not the same thing. And I just want you to talk about that before we even hop into the three secrets, because that was a big aha for me just in talking with you and preparing for this call.
Yeah, and talking about being debt free is not the same as creating financial freedom. I also had the mistaken belief, and I'll talk about this too, that making more money would allow me to become wealthy. And I was completely wrong on that account. More money does not solve a problem of mismanagement, and it will not lead to wealth until I learned how to think like wealthy people do. As an example, becoming debt-free has nothing to do with creating wealth. I've got millions of dollars of debt, but I'm not even having to be the one to pay for it. That money's coming from someone else to cover those debts. And if you think about it from the standpoint that, let's say your house is paid off and your car is paid off, and you have no credit card debt and no student loans or whatever, that does not mean you have an income to support your lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have money to go and buy groceries or meals out or pay for gasoline for your car or the property taxes for your house. All it means is you don't have debts. And so creating financial freedom requires the creation of assets that generate an income so you don't have to work anymore. And and I realize I'm so nervous doing this because in my UCLA class I want to have fun. We tell jokes, and I realize I don't want to be so serious, but I'm nervous. So hopefully the folks on the call can get past that.
They will, and they are actually. I'm watching the comment stream. People are saying hello, thanks for doing this. So it's all good, Rennie, and we're here. Right, we're here because you know something we don't. So, so you just told me. You said the secret to creating wealth is not making more money, and it's not even debt freedom, which leads us beautifully into the reason why we're all here. So I have a slide to show, but can you please tell us all what are the three secrets to creating wealth on any income?
Yeah, it's really simple. The three secrets, the first secret is that we need to think like the wealthy people think. We have attitudes that we may have inherited from our parents, our siblings, the school system, and they will not help us create wealth. So the first thing is we need to find out how the wealthy think. The second thing is we want to use the tools the wealthy people use. They use tools that we're all familiar with, but maybe not in the way that the wealthy people use them. So we're going to go through those tools. There's three of them primarily, and then we're going to go through a fourth tool that the wealthy don't use, which is how to get rid of credit card debt. I'm not saying that's the first thing to do, but I think that's an important item to do because that was one of the things that I had to learn. I've even had to show CPAs the way they were paying off credit card debt was all wrong. And the third thing is when we've accumulated some money, well, where do we put it? I mean, the wealthy don't invest like the rest of Americans. I remember someone was talking about putting money in their 401k plan to create wealth. And I said, yes, that's true. That's a good place to start. But as an example, the wealthy person happens to own the business that's supporting that 401k plan. So it's not just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's not the limitation of where wealthy invest. We're going to talk about those things as the third secret.
So hopefully those of you who are taking notes wrote those down, but in case you missed it, in case you missed the slide, those were think like the wealthy think, use the tools the wealthy use, and invest like the wealthy. And now Rennie's going to go into each of those things in more detail, because if you just came to the webinar and wrote those three things down, you wouldn't have gotten a whole lot of value. so, so Rennie, let's start with how the wealthy think.
Okay, the first thing would be, Carrie, let me have you put up the two circles.
All right.
A lot of people have heard the expression, you can't see the forest for the trees. What that really deals with is focusing on details instead of the big picture. And that expression really never worked for me. It's like trees, forest, what the heck does that have to do with life? And so I created an example I think illustrates it a little bit better, and that is that if you were to cross the street and what you focused on were the details such as how high the curb is so that when you step down you don't trip, and make sure you don't step in any dog mess or any cracks or any open manhole covers. If you maintained your focus on the details in crossing the street, Carrie, would that be a safe way to cross the street?
Probably not if I'm looking at the cracks in the road and not keeping my eyes up for a truck.
Exactly. If you're not looking for the traffic coming from either direction, which is the big picture, the details are irrelevant. And it's very similar to when it comes to investing. The wealthy aren't thinking just about the details, like, if you're thinking about buggy whips, what kind of leather is it made out of and how long is it? And, is there a holster to hold the buggy whip? The bottom line is, should someone even be investing in buggy whips? I mean, we don't have horse-drawn carriages anymore, and you could use that same analogy with railroads or anything else. What's the big picture outlook for this investment? The details are important, but the first thing we have to look at is the big picture. So that's one way that the wealthy look at things, is the big picture, not just the details. And the details come second, big picture comes first. Let's pull up the next thing, because a lot of people think thoughts. Well, you're right. You got the next one. Thank you, thank you, Carrie, for keeping me on track. The wealthy think from the standpoint of questions and not statements. As an example, let's say that I want to, let's say I'm going to cover some familiar information. Hopefully I'm covering familiar information. In the second part, when I'm talking about tools and when you're talking about a balance sheet, income and expense form, how to track spending, and you may have come across these things already. The wealthy person, when he hears familiar information, doesn't make a statement like, I've heard this before. I know this. I've used this before. That's not new to me. They don't make statements like that. They ask questions. Questions such as, how do I modify that for my situation? How does that apply to me? How can I use that differently than what's being illustrated? And the reality is, you'll notice there are how questions, not why questions. A why question could be like, why do I never have any money? Well, if you get to an answer of why you never have any money, that doesn't lead to a solution. But a question like, how do I change my financial situation, will lead to an answer that'll create the result you want. Why questions don't produce any results. How questions do. So that's the second thing in terms of how wealthy people think, is they're asking questions of familiar information, not making statements. And now the next slide is another way wealthy people think. And a lot of people think thoughts are powerful. And I'm going to tell you now, thoughts are not powerful. I mean, I had a thought that I wanted to lose some weight and I should start jogging. And so I set my alarm clock the next morning. I actually took action, set my alarm clock for 5 in the morning, and the alarm goes off. And I think in most parts of the world, when the alarm goes off at 5 o'clock, it's dark. And it's probably cold. And the feeling comes up, this is the next slide, the feeling comes up that I don't want to get up. I just want to sleep a little longer. It's cold, it's dark. What I'm getting at is feelings are what run us most of the time. Feelings are far more powerful than thoughts. And the thought that I'd go jogging was quickly overcome by the feeling that this is not going to be comfortable. So what ends up happening is wealthy people aren't run by their feelings. We have feelings. We all have feelings, but there's a difference between having them and letting them run us. Well, if feelings are running the show most of the time, the next question is, well, what's more powerful than the feeling that allow me to accomplish my objectives? And that's the third area that we operate from as human beings, and that's the area of values and principles. And Carrie, put up the slide about some that has examples of different values.
You got it.
We've got, people whose appearance is the most important thing to them, or health and fitness, or personal growth, spirituality, whatever. So I'm going to use the value integrity as one that I could lean on and did lean on so that I could start losing some weight and go jogging. And I had a neighbor that I knew, his name was Ron, and I knew he went jogging in the morning. So I went over to his house one time and I said, Ron, I know you go jogging in the morning. Can I go jogging with you? He says, sure. Just meet me in front of my house, 6 o'clock. We'll go together. I said, great. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Now, considering one of my values is integrity, Carrie, have I just given Ron my word that I'm going to go see him tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock to go jogging?
Yeah. If your value is integrity, absolutely.
Yes. Now, do I need to say, well, Ron, I promise that tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock I will show up here? Do I have to use those words?
It sounds like a little bit of overkill to me, right?
Exactly. In other words, if I just said, Ron, I'll see you tomorrow morning, and I have the value integrity, I'll be there. So, Carrie, if the alarm goes off 5 o'clock the next morning and I don't feel like getting up, what am I going to do?
Well, Rennie, you're a man of integrity. You're a man of your word. So even though you don't feel like getting up, you immediately remember, I told Ron I was going to be there.
Exactly. And that's what I'm getting at. The values are the things that will override the feelings that prevent us from reaching our objectives. So you need to plug into your own values. In the book, many people opted in and got the free book, Wealth on Any Income. There's an exercise in there on identifying your values, and now you can use them to overcome the feelings that might stop you from creating the financial freedom that you're looking for. So that's how the wealthy think. They ask questions, they look at the big picture, and they use their values to keep them moving forward. So that's the first secret, is how the wealthy think.
So, Rennie, I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second, because I've told the people on this call that you're going to give them, I keep saying call, this is a live webinar, but you guys know what I mean,
yeah.
That you're going to give them an opportunity to work with you further. And I know that you're the creator of an 8-week Wealth on Any Income course. So you've just said some pretty big things, right? You say that a wealthy person thinks from the big picture, and they're in any situation, especially in dealing with their money or dealing with familiar information, they're going to ask how questions instead of why questions, right? They're going to answer, they're going to not say, I know that, I've heard that before, but ask the right questions to elicit an answer from themselves, and then they're going to operate from their values. So I'm sitting in this place of thinking, okay, that all makes sense. Yeah, I know that. So I might be someone who needs, and I'm guessing, and please, if you out there are feeling the same way as me, type your feelings into the chat box. Let us know what's going on internally with you. But I'm thinking this is something I'm guessing that you will be helping people through when they work with you further. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And what I did, because many years ago, I did one-on-one coaching with people, and I found that it's just like I didn't want to do that anymore. And so when I had lunch with an architect who told me the power that my course 17 years earlier had made in his life, and I realized I need to get back to contributing. I'd had enough money. I was playing with my apartment buildings. I guess I'm touching on a little bit of the story on why I'm even creating this when I don't have to. And back in April last year, I severed my Achilles tendon. And I used to enjoy doing stuff around my apartment buildings, like watering the lawn or sweeping the stairs or swapping out a garbage disposal. And when I severed my a tendon, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even change a light bulb. And I started to go crazy. And so I realized I need to do something again. And I figured, okay, why not create something where I can teach the concepts that I've been teaching at UCLA for 20 years that are in my book, and I created a course, and that's what you're referring to. It's an 8-module course. I go through all the concepts that are in my book. We go deep into the concepts, and it's a lot of interaction on the class, on the modules. We're working one-on-one, but in a group setting. And so we'll talk more about that later, but I think that's what you're referring to, Carrie, right?
I am, and I was actually just looking for really simple, yes, I can help people with their thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. Oh, and something else. I mentioned using the value integrity to overcome, a thought that or a feeling that wasn't working. And I realized one of the things that we do in the course is we talk about there are more ways to create support. As a matter of fact, I use concepts from the book Change Anything that talks about the 6 areas that we need to change anything we want in our life. And it's an example, if I have a bad habit and I want to bury that bad habit, and if I just use one item like the value, if one person carries this casket, is that going to work? Is that going to be effective?
One person carrying a casket. No, well, I guess they could drag it, right? But it wouldn't.
Yeah, it's not going to work too well. So what I'm getting is if there's some bad habit we want to bury, 6 people would probably be a lot more effective in carrying the casket. And in the book Change Anything, we talk about 6 areas. Personal motivation, personal ability, societal motivation, societal ability. There's 6 areas where if we put our effort in creating support in all 6 areas, we can accomplish anything. So those are the kinds of things that we go through in the course, to provide the support so everyone gets their objectives met, reaches their goals. That's the point.
And Rennie, yesterday when you and I were talking, you gave me a cute little acronym to talk about that support. Can you share that?
Yeah. I was being a little bit humorous, but I said, Carrie, you and I and everyone else is sitting on everything they need to create this. It's their ASS. It's accountability, structure, and system. So the Wealth on Any Income course is a system, and we provide the accountability and the structure in the course. So everybody who's sitting on their ASS, they've got what they need. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's get.
I want to have fun. That's the bottom line.
And I would like to have fun, and I also want to make sure that we're respectful of everybody's time and we keep on track with our 3 secrets. So let's get to secret number 2. And before I do that, Rennie's about to go over some handouts, right? We'll have some slides about the tools that the wealthy use. And so if you are one of those people who managed to make your way to this webinar without downloading his 3-page report, I believe on your screen there should be on the top, there should be a tab called Pop-ins. If you open that, it will have a downloadable link right now so that you can have all the pages that you need to go. Let's see if I can verbalize this so that you can have the handouts you need that Rennie's about to go over. So Rennie, let's do it. Let's go into secret number 2.
Okay, so secret number 2 are the tools that wealthy people use, and the first one is the balance sheet. Now, people are familiar with balance sheets. You list everything you own, you list everything you owe, you subtract your liabilities from your assets, and you've got your net worth. Okay, big deal. That net worth figure by itself is meaningless when it comes to creating wealth, because if your net worth is tied up in your home and automobiles and furnishing, that's not going to create financial freedom. So there's two different categories of assets to look for, and they're the personal use assets, like an automobile, clothing, your house. These are personal use assets. They don't create your wealth. The category to look for are investable assets. It's the money you have in a 401k, in your savings accounts. It's stocks, it's bonds, it's mutual funds. It's real estate that you own outside of your home, rental real estate, houses, apartment buildings, office buildings, strip centers, manufacturing, whatever. The wealthy people look to see their level of investable assets, not their personal use assets. So that's distinction number one when it comes to the balance sheet. And the balance sheet is just a snapshot of where you are at the moment. It's not an evaluation of who you are as a person. It's not, I'm a good person, I'm a bad person based on the balance sheet. It just says where you are financially at that moment in time where you take the snapshot. That's all it is. And I refer to it as a destination. This is where you are at the moment. And Carrie, put up the next thing. It's the income and expense form. This is how you got to the balance sheet. This is like your roadmap that helped you get to your destination. This is something that tells you where all your money is coming from. And if you'll notice on the left, there are a lot of places where money can come from. It's not just wages. It could be royalty income. It could be dividends. It could be interest. It could be from a retirement plan. It could be from Social Security. A lot of areas where your income can come from. Wealthy people have their money coming from more than one source. As an example, I'm a very insecure person. And one of the results of that has been I've only had a job as an employee for 3 months of my life. And the reason it was only 3 months is because within 3 months of my getting hired, the insurance company merged with another company and canned everybody on the 4th floor. So it was good to be insecure. And I had another situation the following Monday after the Friday we were all let go. The point is, my whole life, because of my insecurities, I've worked on myself. I've been self-employed. I've had a lot of clients. I had the pension administration company. I had a book publishing company. Like you said, I've been a serial entrepreneur. And that's as a result of just being insecure. The idea of having all my money coming from one source, and if they let me go, everything would fall apart. That just wasn't going to work for me. The next side of the income and expense form are where your money is going. This tells you how you got to the balance sheet. And you'll notice there are starred items. These are the items that show up, but it may not be monthly. Like maybe you have kids who are in school and you buy back to school clothing once a year or twice a year. Let's say you only spend $1,200 a year on clothing, and it's not every month, but that's the same as $100 a month. Well, when you're doing a spending plan, by the way, we don't talk about budgets. We use spending plans. We want to spend money in alignment with our financial goals. You want to recognize that in your spending plan, you need to allocate $100 a month for clothing, or for car registration fees, or for income taxes that show up quarterly. And so that's what those starred items are for. And a lot of people live on 110% of their income, if not 100%, and that just doesn't work. Well, this allows you to see where you can make adjustments. And this, again, is the roadmap that got you to the balance sheet, which was your destination. Let's put up the third tool the wealthy use.
All right.
And this is I call it the spending register. This is the concept where you're measuring the level of pleasure you're getting from where you're spending money. You're spending money in alignment with your goals, and you're able to see in 5 to 10 seconds if you're spending money in alignment with the results you want to produce. And so this is a very powerful tool, and I'll give you an example of how powerful it is. I saw a documentary on John D. Rockefeller, who established the Standard Oil Company, who was one of the wealthiest men in the world, not just this country. And at the age of 11, he tracked every penny that came into his hands, and where every penny went. Now, obviously, 150 years ago, a penny was significant. That's not the point. The point is he tracked every penny that came in, every dime, every nickel, whatever you want to call it, where it came in from and where it was going. These are the kinds of things the wealthiest people in the world use. And if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for us if we want to become wealthy. So these are the three primary tools the wealthy use. And I do want to talk about a fourth tool. This is not one the wealthy use, but this is the one that many of us do need to use. I needed to use it, and it's the debt elimination form. Now, I'm not saying debt is the first thing to focus on. It absolutely is not the first thing to focus on. Paying off debt, if your accountant tells you, pay off your debts before you start investing, they're giving you terrible advice. As an example, I had a CPA who hired me to grow his business, and I don't care who anyone is, I have them fill out my financial forms. He had to photocopy this form 3 times to fill out all his credit card debt. He had $150,000 of credit card debt. And I said, do you want to get rid of this? He said, yeah, sure. That's why I'm sending money to all these creditors. Extra money, not just the minimum payments. They said, well, guess what? You're doing it all wrong. I had you fill out this form with the lowest balance up front. And now what I want you to do is all the extra money you're sending to all these other cards, pool it together and send the extra money to just the lowest balance at the top of your list. And he did that. And actually what happened is the first month he did it, he paid off 3 creditors in full. Now, Carrie, if you had some debts and the first month you did what I'm suggesting, you paid off a credit card, would that make you feel good?
Oh my gosh, yes. Just hearing you tell that guy's story, you could probably see me on your screen because I'm in this little box on Rennie's screen. But it was, I mean, I did this great big deep breath, like, oh, yes, that would feel incredible.
Exactly. And I remember I was talking about how powerful feelings are. Well, this is one of the ways of using the feelings to create momentum. He could feel he was getting somewhere. First month, he wiped out 3 of the credit cards. That feeling allowed him to see, oh my gosh, I can get rid of this stuff. And you mentioned Dave, who'd gotten rid of $160,000 of debt in 5 years. This is the approach that he took, and he was able to do that without even increasing his income. So this concept works. So these are 4 things, 4 tools, but 3 of them are what the wealthy use. And the reason the wealthy don't use this tool is because when their credit card bill comes, they pay the balance in full every month. Okay?
And I'm
but we
smiling
may not be
at
there
that.
yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I'm
not there
smiling.
yet, maybe.
Or maybe a lot of people are. I don't presume to know anybody's financial situation on this webcast. I do just want to address a few of the comments. And it looks like Kathy, thank goodness, thank you for being here. Apparently our pop-in wasn't working, but Kathy's posted the link. So this may refer to Mathis, who's saying the slide's a little bit fuzzy. Don't stress, because you actually have, if you've already downloaded Rennie's report, you have all of those handouts already. And
Carrie, let's do this. Everybody who is opted into the webinar, whether they're attending or not, I'm going to email to them because I've got everybody's email address opted into the webinar. I will send them a 3-page summary of the book and these tools, so no one has to worry about that. Okay, we'll just email it to everyone afterwards.
Perfect. Okay, good.
And then next time we'll make sure that the pop-in or pop-up or whatever that tool was that you described works. We'll test that later.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's my bad, guys. I tested it. I put it in. It appears to be working on my screen, but thank goodness for Kathy because she's here and she actually posted a link to it as well. So, so we've got you covered, guys. One way or another, you're going to get what you need. So to recap, right? Step number 2 is a big one. And I think you said something really important about the debt elimination, right? At the beginning of the call, you said it's okay to have debt, but here we're saying get out of consumer debt.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't distinguish between there is good debt and there is bad debt. And consumer debt, like, paying for a meal on a credit card and not paying balances off in full, that's bad debt. Good debt would be like a mortgage on an apartment building or commercial piece of property. It could be buying stocks on margin, perhaps, borrowing money to make investments. As an example, after my wife and I paid off our home, we turned around and borrowed money against the house at 3%, but we put it out to work at 10%. So yes, we borrowed money, we have debt, but it so happens we're earning 10% and only paying 3% for it. So we're being like a bank. We have a 7% spread on our money.
Which
So
that just brings me right back to thinking about how the wealthy think, right? And that you looked at these low interest rates and said, how could I get this working for me, right? How could I get the equity in my house to make even more money?
I didn't borrow money at low interest rates for a consumer item. I borrowed money at low rates to make an investment.
Okay, Rennie. Well, I'm looking at the time, and we are about 40 minutes in, and we promised people that we'd be out of here in 50 to 60 minutes. So
Yep.
just warning you, we look like we're closer to the 60-minute mark. But we've already started to mention a little bit about your course. And like I said at the beginning of the call, we promised people a way to be able to work with you further. And I would just like to ask you to explain a little bit more about what this course is, about what people, right, because you mentioned already, it's 8 weeks. It's a wealth on any income course, right? You mentioned
Yes.
it feels like it has a small group intensive kind of feel to it, but just
Correct.
exactly what is it? What are you going to be offering people who are ready to sign up?
Well, the simplest thing is that what the course will do is allow people from wherever they are. If they have a lot of money, great, they can have more. If they're in debt, we can get rid of the debt. From wherever they are, they will be able to move from a situation to a situation where they want to be, where they're at least on the path to creating financial freedom, where they can see how what they're doing will lead them to a situation where they will be building assets, it'll generate an income. So if they choose not to work anymore, they don't have to work anymore. So that's one of the things that the course is going to be providing. A second thing that the course is providing is that, again, regardless of where someone else is starting, by the time they get to the end of the course, they will have created at least a fund of money that they can begin investing in if they don't have that now. So, it doesn't matter if someone's starting at zero in credit card debt. At the end of the course, they will actually have money that they will have set aside that if they want to buy a mutual fund with, they can. If they want to put money away in their 401k plan, they can. If they want to buy a second trust deed or a first trust deed, they can, because they will have set aside, as long as they take the actions that are going to be requested in the course, those results will show up. So the bottom line is, what they're getting out of the course is a system to create wealth. They've got a support structure of like-minded people. They've got a support structure from me to take the actions. An accountability structure. In other words, I will be asking people if they're doing what we're talking about. They'll have the tools, and how to use the tools. So we're going to be going deep into all of this stuff. Right now, we have an hour. I have to gloss over the surface of these things. But in the course, we go deep into each and everything. And, and we haven't even gotten to the third tool yet, which we need to do.
Yeah, but before we get to that third tool, I just want to hit upon some of the things that I happen to know about your course, right? So you've already
Oh,
mentioned a system, a structure. It's going to be you live presenting. It's
yes.
going to be access to Rennie Gabriel himself. Not just, so often we sign up for what we think is going to be, I'm going to learn from this guru, and it's not that at all. So it actually is live interaction with Rennie himself. And I happen to know you're a fabulous teacher and a generous giver as well. But just some of the nuts and bolts of the course, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get access to you once a week.
Yes,
They're going to get access to a Facebook group. Is that correct?
that's correct. And I just realized I forgot to say, by the way, the course cost $997. And for some people that may sound like not much money, and for other people it may sound like a fortune. And you were saying, yes, I will be working with everybody live. The questions they have, we'll have the interaction, and it will be me. I went to a seminar, a free seminar on buying tax liens and tax deeds, which is one of the things I cover in How the Wealthy Invest. And the person who created the material wasn't at the seminar to sell the course, won't be the one teaching the course, but the course was $3,000.
Wow.
And so this is one thing that I'll be covering, and someone else wanted $3,000 for this one little thing that I'm teaching in the course, and it's not even with the person who created the material. So, oh, something else I better say, Carrie, because yes, I will be doing this live. However, I can't promise that I will be doing it again. You know, I don't have to work for a living, and this is a lot of work. So it's possible I may do it this time and not do it again. So for the people on the call, if you're kind of like on the borderline, say, well, the next time he offers it, I'll think about it. The next time it may not be me doing it. So I wanted to put that out there.
No, I appreciate you putting that out there, and I just want to make sure I'm covering everything that you're forgetting to cover. So I'm looking at my notes here. And also, Kathy, I'm so glad that you're here live because I'm looking at the pop-in to put that button on the screen, and it appears from my screen that I've done it. But so if you guys aren't seeing a registration link, let me know in the chat section, and I happen to know that Kathy knows the link, and we'll put it up for you in the chat section. So thank you, Kathy, for that. But yeah, it's $997 for your course, which sounds so comprehensive to me. And the thing that got me though is you said, okay, they're going to have a fund of money by the end of the course that if they want to invest in this, that, or the other. So one, that sounds flipping fantastic to me that you're going to teach me in these 8 weeks that if I'm just taking the steps, somehow in these 8 weeks, I'm going to have money to invest. That sounds exciting to me. But more than that is these things that you're talking about investing in, and I know that is our third thing, right, is how to invest like the wealthy. But that I'm assuming you're going to teach me about that in the course, right? It's not
Yeah. Well, yeah, important. I will teach you about those things, whether it's trust deeds or buying an apartment building or stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but I don't sell any of that stuff. So, don't expect to be able to buy any of this stuff from me. You will learn what's needed to know to make intelligent investment decisions, and you'll choose someone else to invest through. I'm not selling any products. I'm not selling trust deeds, tax liens, real estate, insurance. I'm not selling any of that stuff. I'm providing the education so you understand it, so you can make intelligent decisions about it. Which means you could talk about bonuses if they sign up, but I do want to get to the third tools and the third secret rather, and which is how the wealthy invest. So, Carrie, you want to talk about some bonuses if people sign up?
I do. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over a couple of things actually. But while I'm in the middle of my screen share, let me move where I need to move. Let's see if I want to go to bonus. Actually, I'm going to go to the guarantee because, Rennie, I think that's important for you to talk about.
Oh, yes.
But I just wanted to say that the fact that you're not selling anything speaks volumes to me about your own integrity, that you really are just here to teach and serve. So you want to tell us about the guarantee?
Yeah, it's really kind of simple. People can be in the course for the first 30 days. We'll have covered 4 modules already. And if they don't feel they're getting the value out of the course that they paid for, if they don't see the results that they want to produce are going to be accomplished, they get all their money back. I don't need their money. I'm not doing this to get people's money. So if people aren't satisfied, they can have all their money back. They have 30 days and half the course to figure out if they're getting what they want before they even ask for a refund. And like I said, it's a full 30-day money-back guarantee.
Perfect, Rennie. And then I just want to remind everybody of Bruce, who we talked about in the very beginning of the webinar. But Bruce is an incredible success story of Rennie's. Do you want to take a minute to share what happened for Bruce?
Yeah, just quickly, because I do want to get to how the wealthy invest. But yeah, Bruce was very concerned about the money coming into his hands and going out. It was like a conduit, in one hand and out the other. And he had a construction company. He was earning a great living, but he wasn't seeing the results of that. So I just made a couple of small suggestions. One of them was, tell you what, let's just take 1% of the income that comes into the construction company and set it aside to invest. Just 1%. Whatever, a check comes in for $5,000, set aside $500. Is it 500? No, $50, 500, whatever it is, 1%. I need a calculator to figure it out. The point is, it was very small amounts of money in terms of a percentage. And when he took his payroll, his own paycheck, set aside some of that, which he did. Bottom line is, at the end of the first month, he had about $5,000 toward investing. And by the end of the 6 months of our working together, he'd increased his net worth by moving things around and taking the actions I'd suggested. He increased his net worth by $600,000 in the 6 months we were working together. So there's that. That's the story.
So holy moly, Rennie, and I know we want to get moving, so I do want to cover the bonuses, and especially the first couple, because they are fast action bonuses. So these are especially for those of you who are here, who are live on the call. So in addition to the 8 weeks of working with Rennie, which I can tell that those of you here can already see just how valuable that is going to be, and how following his system is going to absolutely get you where you want to go, but how valuable it is to just be working in a small group setting with Rennie. He's offering some pretty fantastic bonuses. So for the first 10 people who click that link that I see Kathy has posted for you, which is just Wealth at Any Income, or wealthonanyincome.com/register now, you are going to get an intensive one-on-one session with intuitive money healer Cynthia Carrere. She's the author of a book called The Real Reason You Don't Have Enough Money, and she is an intuitive money healer. So she works one-on-one with people and can actually see into our energy grids and pinpoint where our money blocks are. So this is really, really valuable stuff, especially when it comes to the first thing that Rennie talked about, right, is thinking like the wealthy think, is removing your own blocks from being able to think like the wealthy think. So grab that right now. It is only for the first 10 people who register. And also, at the end of the course, Rennie is offering up some of his really closely guarded time to work with you guys one-on-one. So after you've gone through his course, if you need advice, if you have questions or concerns, or you're really looking for what's the next thing, Rennie's offering a one-on-one session with him. So just those 2 bonuses alone are practically worth the price of admission of that $997 or 3 payments of $350. But beyond that, everyone who registers gets it's an evaluation of your money archetype by Money Mindset Breakthrough Coach Robin Hand. This is an assessment that is especially valuable just to see where you fall and how you deal with money. But I think the biggest bonus that everyone gets is that your spouse, your mate, or your partner can join the calls for free. And Rennie, you want to take like 1 minute to explain why you've given that bonus?
Yeah. One of the books published, the first book published out of my company when I had the book publishing company was Couples and Money. Bottom line is, if you've got a husband and wife or two partners, whatever, in a rowboat and they're each paddling in a different direction, they're not going to get anywhere. So you want to create alignment with the person closest to you in your life, and I want them in the course as well. It supports everybody in creating the results that they want, so it's really crucial. And there was something else I wanted to say about, oh, it appears 3 people have already registered and signed up for the course. So there's only 7 slots left, as far as I know, for that the one-on-one.
Yeah, and I just highly recommend that you guys jump on that right now, especially you guys here live, because the people who are not here live are about to get the replay, and it's only $9.97, and holy crud, your spouse can come for free. And I'm hoping that Rennie and I have done a really good job at relaying the incredible value that you're getting. Remember, people pay $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 to attend a seminar that only covers maybe one little area of what Rennie is going to go deep into with just a small group of you guys over an 8-week period. So I think maybe I don't want to beat a dead horse. You guys, I'm hoping you can tell how passionate I am about just the incredible value that you could be getting for registering for Rennie's Wealth on Any Income course. And because he has that guarantee, you get to get your toes wet and try it out. So
you'll probably be more up to your waist by the time 30 days have occurred.
Fair enough. All right. So congratulations to those of you who have already registered. Those of you who haven't yet, click that link that Kathy has provided so that you can get yourself registered right away. And again, that is wealthonanyincome.com/register now. Okay, Rennie, let's do it. We have just a few minutes left to hit the last promise, right? The last secret.
Okay, and that's how the wealthy invest. They don't invest like the rest of us from the standpoint that they're limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So, and it doesn't take a lot of money to get started. You can start with as little as $250 into a mutual fund. You could start as little as $10 by buying an individual stock with an $8 or $10 fee to TD Ameritrade. But here's another example, and that's peer-to-peer lending. This is a situation where you could see, Carrie put it up on the screen. On the far left, the large number, 12.62%. I loaned $2,500 through an entity called Lending Club, and in $25 increments, they're loaning the money out to other people. It's all through the internet, and so far I've earned $134. The point being, I invested $2,500. It's being doled out in $25 increments, very easy, so there's not a lot of risk, and I'm earning over 12.5% on this money. It's not like the 1% or less that the bank would be paying me on $2,500. I'm at 12.5%. These are the kinds of things that are available that the wealthy do. It's peer-to-peer lending. I've loaned money directly to people who needed to finance their house, and I took a first trust deed position at a 50% loan-to-value ratio and earned 10% on my money with tremendous collateral. If they ended up defaulting on the loan, I pick up a house worth twice as much money as I've loaned out. These are the kinds of things that wealthy people do. Let's take a look at the next slide. And this is, there should be one before this. Yep, there it is. This is a limited partnership investment. I invested $50,000 with someone who also buys apartment buildings, but he buys them with tenants who are in the Section 8 government subsidy program. He's got about 20,000 units. He buys them all over the country. Excuse me. So my wife sold him his house, so we knew who he was, we knew he had integrity. We invested We've done a lot more than this, but one of our investments was 50,000 in 3 different buildings. And now show the next slide, which are the checks we've been getting. Within 8 months, he sold the first building, and he returned $48,000 of our $50,000 investment. About 14, 16 months later, he sold the second building he'd purchased, and we got $84,000, I think it is. I can't read it, it's too small on my screen, from that same investment. The bottom line is we'd received about $132,000 from our initial investment in less than 2 years, and we still have a third building that we own that's continuing to pay dividend income to us, just as those first 2 did until those were sold. So when you begin to accumulate assets, these are the kinds of investments that you can make. These are the kinds of investments wealthy people make. Real estate investment trusts, limited partnerships, peer-to-peer lending, trust deeds. It's not stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So these are examples of what the wealthy people are doing. So, it's kind of fast. Obviously, in the course, we spend a lot more time explaining how these things work and how you can find them. But I at least needed to give some examples, and, I want to be respectful of everybody's time.
And I, too, want to be respectful of everybody's time, Rennie, but there's one more slide that I need to show that everyone needs to see.
I know the one you mean.
Because, I know sitting in my chair, I know Rennie, and so I absolutely believe, I know he's a man of integrity, that when he says he's, glossing over, oh, just throw 50,000 here and look at how much money comes back, but that he's absolutely going to be able to teach me how to do that, when it's wise to do that, right? That's all the kinds of things that I'm imagining people are going to learn in the course. Is that right, Rennie?
That's true, because I have made investments where I've lost everything, like a $400,000 investment to helping my daughter set up a restaurant when she and her husband both had the experience in restaurants. So, I've made my mistakes. People will be learning from my mistakes as well.
Okay, so I want to show everybody this slide because Rennie was like, should we put that? Is this, I don't know, is this a little too...
I was trying to be humorous, yes. At the bottom line, yeah. Go ahead and show it.
It's too great not to show, so here it is.
Yeah, these are rent checks. I've got, some 50 people who are sending me a quarter of their income every month, month in, month out, that I get to use to live my lifestyle, and I can't even stop all this money from coming in. It's kind of nice. It's the reason I don't have to work for a living. So.
I want that too, and I need a show of hands, and I know I can't actually see your hands, but who else out there would like to have the problem of not being able to stop the money coming in? So if that's you, give me a big yes in the chat area and click that link. Click the link for Rennie's course. I promise that it is something that you are not going to regret. And I realize that we have gone a minute or two over, but Rennie, I want to just ask you a question. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat box.
Put them in the chat box. I'll continue to answer questions, or they can email me if they don't want to do it on the chat line. You can email me, Rennie, RENNIE, at Wealth on Any Income, and I'll answer the questions privately if you'd prefer.
So I have some public questions, right? Because these are questions I think are on everybody's mind, but I also am reading the comments. And Mark says, hand up. A hand is up. And there's quite a few people who are saying, I've already signed up for the course. So again, remember, if you're here live, click that link that Kathy has put up. It's wealthonanyincome.com/register now to claim your spot and get especially those 2 fast action bonuses, the 457 value one-on-one with Cynthia Carrere. I'm telling you guys, it will be, it is such a...
I have worked with her, and that's why I'm offering that bonus. And I'm actually paying her from the fees that I'm collecting for the course for her to do this for the first 10 people.
Awesome, you guys. So first 10 people, you heard it here first. Rennie's paying your bill. So, but my question, I forgot my question now. crud. Oh, it is about, okay, so here I am, right? My hand is up. I know I want what you have, and I'm sitting in fear. I'm sitting in this place of, okay, I know I really need this course, but the reason I need this course is because I don't have $997. So what's, as a wealthy person and not as the guy who's offering the course, what's your advice on that?
Two things. One, there's a 3 payment plan that we're offering as well. But more importantly, I've discovered for myself, and I don't think I'm all this. I don't think I'm so unique in this respect. But if there's something that's really important to me in terms of a goal I want to accomplish, I have to put some skin in the game. I have to risk something so that I'll take the actions to produce the results. If it's free, if it's easy, if there's no skin in the game from me, I can just blow it off and not do what's really necessary to produce the result. So if someone ends up having to borrow the money to get in the course because it's that difficult for them, that's probably even more important that they get into the course, because they're not going to be doing it with some stranger. It's going to be me supporting them.
And from what you heard, and I know we have, from what I heard, and I know we haven't actually talked about this very much, but you said, okay, when you register for the course and you follow the steps that I'm asking you to take, you will have some money set aside to invest by the end of the 8 weeks. But I just
That's right.
wanted,
And the funny thing is, you don't pay off the debts with that first. You don't. You,
be,
you use
because we
it
want our
to
money to
deal.
grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to say that this is by no means a get rich quick scheme, right? Someone
No.
who's investing, they are doing what they need to do to invest in their money habits, their money mindset, and the way that they deal with money for the rest of their life. Correct?
Exactly. I mean, everybody's probably heard the expression "pay yourself first." It's a 5,000-year-old concept, and it is the key to creating wealth. You got to start there, and then we'll talk about where you put that money that you've paid yourself first with, because the bank is just the parking place.
And I'm looking at the chat stream, and Kathy is doing a brilliant job. Kathy is Rennie's virtual assistant, and she's kicking butt in the comments. So thank you, Kathy. But Deborah was asking, when do classes start? So if you click that link,
Oh,
you do get all the information. But why don't you give us the details, Rennie?
yeah. The class starts next week, Wednesday, February 4th. We're going to do this very similar to the way the webinar is being hosted, with Kathy hoping she saves my life because I'm a technology boob. 10 a.m. Pacific time. For someone in Great Britain, it's probably about 7 o'clock in the evening. I know someone registered from South Africa. I have no idea what time it is there, but it's 10 a.m. Pacific time. Wednesday, February 4th is when it starts. And if people aren't live on the call, which is absolutely the best way to do it, they will be recorded. So if they can't be on a call, or they miss one call, they will have access to that recording, and they will have email access to me if there's questions from any material that was on the recording.
Which I can just tell you, having the recordings is so valuable, even if you are live on the call, and everybody will be getting both, right? If you're live,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
when we say the call, right, it's going to be like this.
Correct.
But if you are live, you will see it live, and you also get the recording, which is so, so valuable as you go through this process to be able to revisit. And Rennie, if I'm correct, you're not just offering the video recordings or the audio recordings, but Rennie actually offers transcripts. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, I liked the reason is because for me, I don't want to necessarily spend an hour or 90. Oh, and that's the other thing. The courses will be from 60 to 90 minutes tops. It's not going to be 2, 3 hours once a week. We can cover all this material and in 60 to 90 minutes. But you can read the material in 1/3 the time it takes to watch it. So I like to do that. So that's offered as well.
Awesome. So see, it's all about learning styles, but more importantly, it's about Rennie being a person who remember, you guys doesn't have to do this. It's offering this course at what I think is an incredible value, being someone who has shopped around for similar things, right? I'm always looking at what people are offering, always wanting to improve my wealth. And I'll be honest with you, Rennie, the thing that has held me back in the past has been like, I don't know if I can invest $3,000 to learn about, investing in stocks. I don't know if I'm ready to do that, which is why I just think your course is so comprehensive and so perfect for just about anybody, no matter where they're starting. I do want to be respectful of people's time, though, and I see Kathy is answering all of the questions. And when I end this webinar, I'll post a page on the screen that is going to have, hopefully it work. If it doesn't work, we'll get you an email. But I'm going to post a page on the screen that has hopefully all the answers to the questions that you need. But Rennie, do you have any closing remarks?
Other than I'm going to email the 3-page summary of the book and those forms to everybody who opted in for the webinar, whether they were here live or not. And I want to support people. And I think I forgot to say that one of the reasons was when I severed my Achilles tendon last April, I couldn't do anything, and I needed to do something. So this was created out of my being unable to do anything else.
Well, from someone who believes that there are no coincidences, I think that severed Achilles tendon wasn't so much about you and you needing something to do, but it was about all of us who are here, who need your message, who need your wisdom, who need to learn what it is that you teach, which is how to create wealth on any income, regardless of your starting place, and to cultivate the habits that we need to keep and grow that wealth forever and ever. Amen. So, Rennie, I believe the Achilles tendon was for us and and not for you. But on that note, I just want to thank everybody for being here, for spending this hour and 11 minutes with us. And holy crud, it's 11:11. So for those of you who are kind of geeks like me, that was our divine moment together. But thank you all for being here. I see that the class is filling up quickly. Actually, there are more and more registrants coming in, so make sure you click that button right now and claim your spot to get your fast action bonuses. And I know I said any closing remarks, but now it's really the last time, Rennie. Anything else?
No, thank you everyone for being on the call. Like I said, you could have been watching daytime TV instead, and I'm glad you joined Carrie and I. And Carrie, thank you for supporting me in this. There was no way I could have pulled this off on my own.
Well, we're on a wing and a prayer as it is, but thank you for that, and thank you everyone for joining us. And I think, hopefully, I'm about to send you to a page that gives you a bit more information, but I'm going to end the webcast on that note. So if you need anything else at all, you can email Rennie it's rennie@renniegabriel.com. Is that correct?
Yes, or Rennie at wealthonanyincome.com.
There we go. So on that note, adios, you guys. Thank you for being here. I hope we offered you incredible value, whether or not you choose to sign up for the course. So thanks again. We will see you later.
Thank you, Carrie. Bye-bye.